reach after work and there are groceries to be bought, ignoring all other stores along the way because there's a particular store you prefer. Maybe this choice is nothing more than a product of mindless habit, or perhaps there's some deeper meaning to it. The one doing the shopping here is a middle-aged man named Sasaki. Sasaki is a salaryman wasting his life away at a toxic workplace. Day in, day out, the same old routine marred with abusive superiors and mindless busy work. His only reprieve comes in the form of a pack of cigarettes and the illuminating smile of his favorite cashier. The cashier in question is Yamada, a woman half his age. It must be noted that Sasaki likes her. Not romantically or platonically or metaphorically or whatever. He just likes her. Seeing her brightens his day, and that's all he's really looking for. On a particular night, Yamada is absent, so he decides to go for a quick smoke despite the disapproving glares of onlookers. Here, he is invited to the back of the supermarket by a pretty striking woman. This is Tayama. Her bright hair, dark lipstick, plentiful piercings, and leather jacket paint an engrossing image. Sasaki isn't sure what to make of her, but decides to have a quick smoke with this stranger. Here's the quote-unquote twist. Tayama is Yamada, and thus we've set the stage for a mundane love story that involves a quasi-love triangle between our two leads. This is Behind the Supermarket Smokin' With You, a series written and illustrated by an individual who calls themselves Jinushi. Not much is known about them except that they started the series off as a webcomic that was posted on Twitter, eventually getting licensed by Square Enix. And I say the following with as much love as there is in my heart, this is one of my favorite ongoing stories. To all viewers who are not familiar with this series, please take note that this video contains spoilers up to the latest chapter, therefore discretion is advised. So let's break the series down into 4 key components that have made it such a standout series for me. These 4 elements are the characters, the illustrations, the mood, and of course, the romance. Beginning with the characters, the series isn't limited to our 2 leads, but for the sake of this review, I'll be focusing purely on Sasaki and Tayama. Beginning with the former, Sasaki is a bundle of nerves, considerate of others and just trying to get through the day with as little baggage as possible. Tayama, on the other hand, is a cool and collected young woman, sharp, mischievous, with a good head on her shoulders, but prone to letting certain emotions overwhelm her. On the surface, these 2 characters should not get along, yet the ethereal red thread of fate has bound them together. I refer to this image released by Jinushi wherein we see the sleeping posture of the 2 characters. Most likely Jinushi meant nothing by this, but I found it interesting that the 2 were oddly complementary of each other. They were drastically different in how they slept, yet they would fit together snugly. Perhaps this illustrates just why the 2 of them work, different pieces that fit perfectly together. Although the characters are layered and their relationship multifaceted, the story itself is scant, merely a series of routine mishaps that provide the characters an opportunity to just talk, along with some hijinks courtesy of the supporting cast. On their smoke breaks, the 2 shoot the breeze, chat about their day, and then get back to what they were doing. More than a love story, or a covert ad for smoking, this is a story about those seemingly inconsequential connections that we form in our everyday lives. A moment between strangers that has a lasting impact despite the brevity. That's what Sasaki and Tayama share, a series of moments that have had a profound impact on both of them. The characters and their dynamic is bolstered by the romantic element that underpins every conversation and situation. The manner in which Jinushi has chosen to tackle the romance between the 2 is a way that appeals to my particular sensibilities. On various online forums such as Reddit, you'll find comments discussing the supposed progress between any story's romantic leads. A will they, won't they romance doesn't appeal to people as much as it used to. But in my case, I prefer the journey of reaching the romantic threshold more than actually crossing it. Stories like Jitsu wa Watashi wa, Dangers in My Heart, Komi Can't Communicate, amongst others, are stories that move past the will they, won't they phase and indulge greater romantic escapade. Yet, almost without fail, I lost interest in each series as soon as the romantic leads came together. To better illustrate my thinking, I referred to Jean Renoir's 1939 French classic, The Rules of the Game. Fantastic film, by the way. Actually, let me be a bit more specific. I refer to Roger Ebert's review of the same. Ebert speaks of a character named Marceau, a womanizer attempting to woo a woman named Lisette. Ebert notes that Marceau loses interest in his supposed conquest the moment she reciprocates, stating that Marceau would rather chase Lisette than catch her. You know what, Marceau? I get it. I too am fonder of the chase rather than the catch. Seeing the struggle and fumblings of my romantic leads is what I seek in these types of stories, and Jinushi's allegedly glacial pacing is what has kept me hooked for so long and why I look forward to every chapter. As such, although the story is simple and lacking particular depth, and it takes its time to move forward, with the characters often stuck in a loop of almost, I am enraptured. The story isn't just about a couple of characters orbiting around one another. Certain elements have subtly formed a dramatic backbone for the series. The age difference between the two leads and Tayama's deceit. Throughout the series, Sasaki has consistently made a point of highlighting his age. Just to note, he is 45. Noting his incompetence in relation to modern technology, that his interests don't align with that of Tayama, and often treating her as a younger colleague or friend as opposed to a potential romantic partner. Sasaki's persistent allusion to their age difference is illustrative of his view of the situation. Clearly, there's nothing going on between us two. She's just a smoking buddy, nothing more. It's no coincidence that various characters voice their doubts on this claim. Tayama, on the other hand, has built a relationship on a lie. To Sasaki, she is not Yamada. She is someone else entirely, so she can be trusted with information and details that Sasaki is too embarrassed to tell Yamada. It's a breach of trust and forms a flimsy foundation for what should otherwise be an earnest relationship. These dramatic hang-ups are what make the relationship so compelling, and why the series has resonated so deeply with me. Manga, however, is a visual medium. Therefore, the characters and their dynamic is accentuated by the art, specifically the manner in which Jinushi illustrates said characters and their moods. Jinushi has a knack for movement and expression, allowing the characters to emote in a manner that make them feel all the more real. Tayama's moments of embarrassment or Sasaki's fidgety nature are displayed through wonderfully illustrated expressions and sketchwork that is sleek and clean. The series has a wonderful sense of movement that enlivens the page and gives the characters another layer of personality. This image of Tayama flinching is so emphatically real that I could picture it without a second thought. A plethora of smaller motions is illustrated in such a lively yet subtle manner, making the act of reading this manga a wonderful and engaging experience. It should be noted, however, that Jinushi makes use of onomatopoeia and descriptors to better showcase the actions and emotions of the characters. This isn't a knock on Jinushi's artistic abilities. Rather, it's an exclamation of appreciation for the artist in utilizing all the tools available to them to best illustrate and highlight all the minute happenings of the story and characters. Jinushi's artistic abilities are further put on display through the use of more chibi-esque designs of the characters. It brings humor into the mix while descriptively exhibiting the character's mood, feelings, and reactions. One of my personal favorite examples being this panel, wherein we see an embarrassed Tayama fold and fall into the void out of sheer shame. It's funny, endearing, and wonderfully displays Tayama's feelings in a terse way. Just all around great stuff. The art isn't necessarily the most complex. It can be easily noted that backgrounds are not a priority, and complex movement is wholly out of the question. But Jinushi has chosen to prioritize the characters and their thoughts and emotions, which helps form a solid and tangible connection between the reader and the characters. Perhaps more so than anything else is how Jinushi draws Tayama. Here are a few examples. In the 1961 classic West Side Story, director Robert Wise and cinematographer Daniel L. Pfaff had beautifully captured and filmed the notion of love at first sight. time Jinushi focuses on Tayama, because it's always from Sasaki's point of view. Each time I can see Sasaki falling just a bit more in love, and I can't imagine the manga without these moments of incandescent beauty that is emblematic of what Sasaki feels for her. Also, should be noted, Tayama's fit is just immaculate. I mean, look at this! The illustrations are expressive and beguiling, and are as effective and evocative as they are due to another aspect of the art, which is the mood. Jinushi, through their art, establishes a certain atmosphere, one that can be equally light-hearted and melancholic. There's not necessarily somberness in the scenes between Tayama and Sasaki, but there is an element of distance, something that can be attributed to the dramatic hangouts between the two and the quotidian nature of their relationship. Jinushi's use of grayscale and low lighting helps evoke this half-and-half ambience of warmth and melancholy. Yet, the atmosphere always remains welcoming, perhaps through the infusion of humor or because Jinushi never lingers on one emotion for too long. If a scene has a tenser atmosphere, the art will eventually break that tension through soft lighting and vivid imagery. Striking a balance between the two moods is no easy feat, and Jinushi's skill as an artist and storyteller are put on display through the mystifying atmosphere that permeates the manga, and is central in underscoring the most crucial element of the story, the romance. All the elements I've listed so far are collectively utilized for the central core of the series, the budding romance between Sasaki and Tayama. With each talk, with each moment spent together, the palpable chemistry of the two becomes more layered and tangible. As the series progresses, the obvious attraction becomes something more profound, and we see how Tayama develops a persistent concern for Sasaki's well-being, pushing him to grow as a person and confront his problems. The irony being that Tayama herself is unable to confront her own deception and tell Sasaki the truth. Conversely, Sasaki's consideration and empathy towards Tayama has charmed her, all the while being unaware himself how smitten he's become of her. All the dramatic hang-ups, at least in my view, fall to the wayside. The age gap isn't problematic because there's no power imbalance, and it has been repeatedly shown that the two are able to form a genuine connection despite generational disparity, and that there exists authentic attraction between the two. Tayama's deception is an egregious act, but Chapter 45 shows that not only is Sasaki catching on, but he's not particularly bothered by it. But then again, I may be reading the situation incorrectly. Jinushi has cleverly planted the seeds for dramatic arcs, but has also subtly planted a seed for a resolution that yields the most romantic fruit. The romance between the two never feels ham-fisted, nor does it feel as if it's progressing too swiftly or too sluggishly, at least to me. Each action and each conversation betters the relationship between the two, deepening their bond and creating a veritable connection that is endlessly endearing. The simple fact of the matter is, both of these characters are captivating, and their romance is made all the more engrossing because the audience believes in the attraction, consideration, and love that is on full display in almost every page between the two. I want to wrap this video up with a quick peek at what I consider the best page of the series thus far. In Chapter 29, Sasaki is feeling dejected after being scolded by his boss. Feeling as if he's wasted his life away, Sasaki is too distracted to notice that his birthday has come and gone, despite the best efforts of Tayama in bringing attention to this. Taking the opportunity to cheer him up, Tayama begins chatting with Sasaki. Sasaki candidly tells her that he feels as if he's wasted years of his life. In response, Tayama grabs his hand and voices her thoughts. She likes his hands, how they look and how soft they are. She claims that if all those years of your life resulted in you having these hands, then maybe simply wasting your years isn't so bad either. Following this exchange, we get this page. A pensive Sasaki and an almost listless Tayama holding hands, staring at one another in a manner that could never be construed as anything other than romantic. The mood crafted in a manner that doesn't deny the former melancholy but embraces the beatific joy in that singular moment. All of it's broken by a dose of chibi-esque humor that returns the two to their typical dynamic. It is a beautifully crafted page that encapsulates all the elements of the story that have made it resonate so deeply with me. I highly recommend this series to anyone who may be interested, and I hope that Jinushi continues to deliver such a wonderful and human experience for the foreseeable future. Thanks for watching.